to the Strike Zone. I am Joe Hunk with you, as I am every single Thursday night. We'll say around 7 o'clock that we do right here from First Horizon Park. Welcome in. Now, look, here's the cool thing about this. If this is the first time that you've ever seen the Strike Zone, you're seeing this on your feed for the very first time. First off, thank you so much for hopping in as we get going on this Thursday night. And as you can see directly behind me right now, the Sounds and Cubs are playing. They were playing last night as well if you were here for 3HL Sweet Night, and we appreciate everybody that hopped in and came out for that as we broadcasted live before the Sounds and Cubs game. Now, as the game's going on right now, Sounds already got themselves a little bit of a lead, which is great because they also had a massive lead last night as we were watching and hanging out with everybody up in and during the suite. Now, the other cool thing that we're going to be doing is, the cool thing about this being live is that we've got the chat open to you. You can see it directly to, that side of me. You've got that chat going right there, so you can get that chat in going. Steven just already hopped in. He said, good evening. I hope that Tennessee goes to Miami like Ole Miss did last year and win the whole thing. Now, what Steven is referring to is the possible destination of the Tennessee Volunteers being, as they are projected to potentially be going down to Miami to be involved in the Miami Regional. There's also the talk of them potentially going somewhere else in a totally different regional, which would be kind of unique if you were a Vols fan. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go throughout the night. You can also shoot me a tweet at Joe Hunk. I've got my Twitter pulled up, so if you have any questions, comments, anything like that you want to talk about, you can absolutely hit on them right here as we go on throughout the show. You can also tweet at 1045 The Zone because we have that going as well. And now as we're talking, the conversation does go on with what's going to be happening with Tennessee and Vanderbilt in the NCAA region or the NCAA tournament. Now, the reason why we bring this up already is, yes, Vanderbilt still has Florida tonight, and they haven't really fared so well against Florida. In fact, 2 weekends ago, they got swept in that series. So that's the weird thing about the SEC tournament, because last year the Vols won the SEC tournament, and it was awesome to watch, and it was awesome to see because if you were a Vols fan, you got to see that was kind of really the first championship outside of a regular season title that Tony Vitello had won. Yes, he had gone to the regionals and super regionals, but you hadn't had that SEC tournament victory, so it was cool to see it. But the SEC tournament is a catch-22. Is it important? Is it not important? Right now, you have 11 different SEC baseball teams that are projected to be going to regionals next weekend. There's only 12 SEC teams that even go to Hoover. So how important is the SEC tournament? Now, if you're somebody like Texas A&M that, okay, maybe you were going to get into the tournament, but you needed a win or two, yes, it's important. But the SEC baseball tournament is kind of becoming something very similar to the SEC basketball tournament. Whereas it doesn't matter if you're in it. There's one or two teams that it could help, but the only way it's really going to help them is if they make a run and they get through Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and they get to like Saturday. That's when you're really talking about the wins. So how beneficial is this tournament? Well, Tennessee's in, Vanderbilt's in, Auburn's in, Alabama's in, Florida, LSU, Arkansas, all the teams that are playing right now are absolutely in. So you're really kind of seeing it based on what we're seeing when it comes to the pitching. Yes, LSU threw their ace tonight against Arkansas, but they also pulled him after like 3 innings or 4 innings. Okay, you got us in. We're tied at 2. You got some work in. Now just go ahead and rest. Let's go ahead and get you ready for the regionals as that's going on. Like I said, it's live. There you go. Tennessee when they played on Tuesday night, they started their weekday starter. All right, we get a win. If we lose, we lose. No big deal. We're going back home. Okay, no big thing. So this is really one of those scenarios, as in at this point in time, every team that is playing in the SEC tournament, they're already in. And it's not really going to help your seeding that much. So now you've got Vanderbilt and you've got Florida coming up, because just a few seconds ago, Arkansas and LSU wrapped up, and Arkansas beat LSU. LSU now, this is that double elimination round. So LSU is playing tomorrow they're going to be trying to go it. Now, Arkansas's got the day off. That's the good thing about what's happening tonight is these two games that are happening tonight, the winner of the Arkansas-LSU game and the winner of the Vanderbilt-Florida game, both of them get Friday off. So that's the reason why you're seeing those LSU players go with their starters and their Friday starter, because technically if they go with their Friday starter, they're already going to be skipping Friday because they're not going to be playing, and then they set up for Saturday and Sunday with your weekend starters. You're good to go, because once you get into Saturday and Sunday, now it's back to single elimination. The SEC tournament right now without Texas and Oklahoma is a little bit weird. It's a little strange, okay? Because you go single elimination on Tuesday, double elimination for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then back to single elimination for Saturday and Sunday, and you wrap up the tournament, and then the bracket is nailed on Monday. I said you can hop in on the chat on 104.5 and our chat brought to you by FNM Bank. Yorkie's in. He's also saying Arkansas just beat LSU. And so we appreciate him hopping in as well. You get in on that chat. Now, here's what's unique, and let me ask you, because Steven has already let it known, because he says that he hopes that Tennessee goes to Miami. We know that Vanderbilt is going to be hosting, but who are they going to be hosting? Now, the latest projections actually have not just Nashville being obviously the game for Vanderbilt, but who they're hosting. One of those teams that D1 baseball has Vanderbilt hosting is Lipscomb as a 4 seed. You have Duke, Kent State. Those are your 2-3. So the Nashville region right now, projection-wise, is Vanderbilt their number 1, the 7th overall seed. Duke, your number 2 seed. Kent State, your number 3. Lipscomb, your 4. That's at least what the D1 is projecting. And we'll talk about with Vanderbilt, it's crazy because, yes, we pay attention to Vanderbilt, we pay attention to Tennessee, but not too many people know about what has been kind of going on with Lipscomb baseball this season, and we'll talk a little bit about that because Kent State, they have a couple good players. They're an interesting baseball team from the pitching standpoint. That's where I start to wonder for Vanderbilt in this is, and not just that, but also when you're talking about these teams, I'm talking about not just the Vanderbilts and the Tennessees and the teams that are going to be advancing, but now you start looking at these small teams, and I'm talking about your teams that are some of these automatic qualifiers. That's where the question comes in, because a lot of these teams have great hitting. For instance, Kent State, they have Aiden Longwell, who's batting over 400. He's got like 69 RBIs this season. They have a left fielder named Josh Johnson. He's already stolen 23 bases this year. You know what's also bad about being live? I can't stop coughing. Like, that's so bad. My throat has not itched all day. But now here I am. And I can't stop coughing for some reason. Like, I'm not even that... Like, how bad is this? Thank God for the mute button, or you just be hearing coughing the entire time. I may have to drop an octave or two just so that I can get through this, because right now, trying to talk at this point in time is just not working out well for me. Take a deep breath. Let's see if I can get it done. All right, so now you have your Lipscombs. The problems with a lot of these teams. I'm going to turn my volume level up because I may have to drop down in volume a little bit just to talk. But the problem with a lot of these teams are they have amazing offenses, but a lot of these teams don't have great defenses, or I should say actually great pitching. So some of the teams that are being projected for Tennessee to face, great offenses, power hitters. You have a lot of guys that are hitting for average, but they don't have much pitching. Kent State is not one of those teams. Kent State does have a couple of good hitters. I mentioned Aiden Longwell. But then you have somebody like Joe Whitman, they're going to be their Friday starter. He's got a 9-1 record so far this season. His ERA is just under 3. He's already struck out 93 guys this season. So somebody like that is going to be a problem if you are going up against him in the first game. You have somebody like Ben Cruikshank, who also pitches for Kent State. He's undefeated this season. Now, he doesn't have as good of an ERA. It's about around 340 or so, but he struck out 90 guys. So you've got two good pitchers that are strikeout pitchers. If Vanderbilt doesn't face Whitman in game one because Kent State is the 3 seed, if Kent State gets past Duke, you're most likely going to be seeing a Cruikshank coming at you in the second game. So that's something you have to pay attention to when facing a team like Kent State in this. Now, the other thing that's going to be is the other team that we were talking about is, again, Lipscomb. You don't know that much about them, okay? Even though they're literally right here in the area. And if you're walking around right now and you're walking around First Horizon Park, you may even be going to Lipscomb and you may not know that much about the baseball team. Austin Kelly, if you don't know that name, he's already got 20 home runs this season. He's almost got 60 RBIs this season. That is a name to pay attention to if they're going to be playing in Nashville. Now, the thing about Lipscomb is, from a hitting standpoint, they do have a few guys that do have power. Trace Wilhoit is another one that you can talk about. 16 home runs so far, 63 RBIs, but they don't have anybody that's batting over 300. They have one guy batting 300. That is it. Then you have a guy on the team, Caleb Ketchup. Yes, that's his real name. Caleb Ketchup, he has 26 stolen bases this year, so he's got some speed, but he's batting 250. 250 is not the type of batting average that you're going to want from a guy that you're trying to get on base. Just ask Willie Mays Hayes. The other thing about Caleb is, the positive is he's also walked 42 times this season. So that's a positive for him, that even though he's batting 250, he's also getting on base from that standpoint so that he can get the stolen bases. Look, a lot of great base runners, all they need to do is get on first base, man. We talked about it last week when Brandon Gaudin. We joke about it with Ronald Acuna. Just get him on first, and you can get him to second or third easily, and he's going to be able to score. And so those are some of the teams just to pay a little bit of attention if that is the region that Vanderbilt ends up bringing into the Nashville area, which that series is obviously going to start on Thursday or Friday. We'll find out on Monday when the bracket is made. Then you have Tennessee. Now, Steven just a little while ago put in on the F&M Bank chat that he wanted to see Tennessee go to Miami. Miami and that stadium that the Miami Hurricanes play in is a very home run friendly ballpark, which plays right into what Tennessee is. I wasn't trying to be hateful on the Vols the other day when I was saying when they were down 3-0 that they're not going to come back in the ninth inning, because yes, I know that they're doing that again, that they did that against Vandy. I was saying that because the ballpark that they were playing in, the Hoover Met, is not built for home runs in 2023. What it is built for, contact hitting, speed, and pitching. That's the reason why. Look at a lot of these games that you're seeing, even with Vanderbilt and Auburn. The only reason why Vanderbilt got some of their runs last night against Auburn was because Auburn made a fielding mistake, which led to more batters, which led to the runs. You were giving guys 90 feet, they're going to be able to score on it. So that's why Vanderbilt was ending up getting that big lead, and the guys just kept going, and Auburn couldn't get out of the inning. And next thing you know, Vanderbilt has a big lead, and they end up winning that ball game. So that's what the Hoover Met is built for. Where the Miami Hurricanes are built for, or the Miami Hurricanes play in Clark Gables, or Coral Gables, I should say. Clark Gable. Pretty sure that was an actor back in the 1920s. But where they play in Coral Gables, that is a home run friendly ballpark. That's the ballpark that you want to go to if you're a Tennessee Volunteer. That's the ballpark that you want to go to. Now, and that's why you talk about the ballpark being such a big issue. The other thing that was going against Tennessee last night or the other night was the fact that being a home run hitting team, going into a rain delay the way that they did against Texas A&M. I'm not a science major. I never claimed to be a science major. I never claimed to be this person that could tell the weather left and right and what's going on. And, oh, too high, too far, like Don and I joke about. But I do know one thing. The air in a ballpark like the Hoover Met after a rain delay is heavy. You can feel it. It just feels like a weight on your uniform. Ball doesn't travel. That's why I knew that Tennessee wasn't going to do that, because as a home run hitting team, even though they haven't hit them the way that they have hit in the past season, that is something that doesn't play well to them. So yes, you knew that Griffin Merritt or Dickey or Burke or Moore, some of these players that are going, and Maui Ahuna, those types of players, they weren't going to be able to get in with the long ball. Miami, that is the case. Miami, very thin air, even though it's at ocean level. The ball travels well there. Go back, exactly what Steve was talking about. Go back, and if you wanted to watch Ole Miss play in that regional last year, they came out of that regional to the super regional when a lot of people didn't expect them to. It was because they were mashing the baseball. When you have a good pitching staff, the way that Tennessee does, and you have the pitchers that can go in like an Andrew Lindsay. Now, I know Chase Dolander is going to be your ace. He still has a 4+ ERA. Drew Beam still has a 4+ ERA. Andrew Lindsay has a sub-3. I know that Andrew Lindsay hasn't started as many games as Beam and Dolander, but at some point in time, okay, now you got to start talking about that, these pitchers being your good pitchers. So, when you have a good pitching staff and you can strike the guys out the way that Dolander can at the 100 miles per hour, the way that Burns can, or 100, he has 107 strikeouts on 100 miles per hour, and Chase Burns is throwing 100. But you have those types of pitchers, that bodes well for you in a Miami regional. If they can go to Miami, they can 100% get out of that regional and they can advance. The problem with this is, because the bracket isn't set just yet, we do not know who Tennessee would potentially face in the super regional, meaning we do not know as far as where it would go, if they would be hosting at Lindsey Nelson or if they would be on the road. They are the top 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, that we know. They're not going to be hosting a regional, but they are the best team not hosting a regional. So if it bodes well for them, they could potentially be hosting the super regional based on whatever the bracket's going to look like on Monday. Now, I'm not so worried about them if the other prediction is going to be the one that happens. We heard about the Miami one. It was Miami. It was actually Miami, Kent State, and Wichita State were the 3 teams that were projected for Tennessee to be facing outside of Miami in the regionals if they were to go to Coral Gables. But now, in some odd twist of fate, Tennessee could actually not be going south to Miami. They could be going north to Indiana, in Indiana State. Yes, Indiana State is very good at baseball this year. In fact, they've only lost like 14 games so far this season. They are an amazing baseball team. But they are considered the worst of the regional teams whenever the bracket is to come out. So if for some reason Indiana State is hosting, Tennessee's going to be going there. Right now, D1 has the 4 teams in Indiana at Indiana State being Indiana State, Tennessee, UC Irvine, and Wichita State. Indiana State has one good pitcher. Now, they have other pitchers that can have a day. Okay, you get in, you get hot, you get your home crowd behind you, you can have a day. But Lane Miller is Indiana State's best pitcher. What I'm going to be curious about with him is when they are going to be pitching him. If Indiana State is the team that ends up being in the region that Tennessee travels to. Because Lane Miller is actually Indiana State's Sunday pitcher. But he's undefeated on the season. At 6-0, he has a sub-3 ERA, and the rest of their pitchers barely even have anything around 4. Is this the moment where you move Lane Miller up where he could potentially be the guy that's going up against a Wright State? That's going to be the question mark in this, because that would mean that Tennessee would most likely be paying somebody like UC Irvine. Now, Indiana State could hold Lane Miller out. They could hold him for that second game. And that's who Tennessee could be facing if they get past UC Irvine and they were to play Indiana State in the second round of that regional. Indiana State has a good baseball team. You're not going to be hosting a regional if you're not a good baseball team. Honestly, the worst of the regional teams in all reality is Auburn. They have not been great this entire season. But over the course of the last month, they caught fire. And they just kept going and winning. 9 straight SEC conference wins. They then win on Tuesday night. They get into the double elimination. They lost to Vandy last night. They lost to Alabama today. Now they're going home, and they're going to have the entire week and have about 10 days to get ready. They, to me, are arguably the worst team as far as all the teams that are hosting. Indiana State is the other one. You have Keegan Watson. He has a 1.042 OPS. Now, what OPS is slugging percentage plus on-base percentage. And I know you're asking yourself, well, how do you do that equation? No, legitimately, all you do is you take the number for the on-base percentage, you take the number for the slugging percentage, you add it together, and that is your OPS. It's that simple. So the reason why you're hearing OPS as much is because it's really giving you 2 stats in one. In college baseball, you want your guys or your better players are going to have OPSs that are above 1. Indiana State only has 1, and that's Keegan Watson. Now, he's batting .330, but that's it. He's not a good home run hitter. He doesn't have a ton of RBIs. He doesn't have a ton of triples, stolen bases, none of that. He's a solid hitter at the plate, and he can get a double. That's basically what his entire game plan is going to be. You have Mike Sears for Indiana State. He already has 18 home runs this year. He has 55 RBIs, but here's the key to him, especially facing somebody like Dolander if this game were to take place, and that is who Tennessee plays in the second round of this tournament. It would be Indiana State versus Tennessee. Sears has already struck out 81 times this season. Indiana State has played roughly 45, maybe 50 games. Means he's striking out over 1 per game. The next closest player to him when it comes to strikeouts for batters has 48. So, yes, Mike Sears can probably park one, but it doesn't mean that he's also not a strikeout candidate. Wright State, who most likely Tennessee is not even going to face unless they lose, they have one good pitcher. He's probably going to be going the first game against Indiana State, Sebastian Gongoria. That is all that they're going to have to worry about. Tennessee's not going to have to worry about him at all. Andrew Patrick is probably going to be their best hitter. He's the outfielder. He's number 23. He already has 26 stolen bases. He has an OPS over 1. Matter of fact, it's 11-19. So those are you're going. Then you go to UC Irvine. I'm already saying Tennessee is going to win if they play UC Irvine because UC Irvine has 0 pitching whatsoever. Tennessee can light UC Irvine up if they want to. UC Irvine has no pitcher that has an ERA below 4. Not Friday starter, not Sunday starter, not Saturday starter. Nobody has an ERA under 4. There's nothing sexy pitching-wise about this team. Their best hitter is like an Anthony Martinez. He's batting over 400, and he has 11 home runs. That's just about it. And when you come into a regional play, regionals are just like regular tournaments. You're not really going to be pitching to these guys. You're going to try to figure out ways to pitch around them if you have an open base. Now, Joe Oyama, that's a guy you probably need to pay attention to. He's got 5 triples so far this season, 13 stolen bases. Why doesn't he have more stolen bases? Well, it's because he's getting triples. Can't steal a base if the only base left is home plate. I mean, you could steal it, but it doesn't happen very often. So that's the teams that most likely Tennessee and Vanderbilt are going to be playing in the regionals. Now, we don't know for sure. Anything can happen. You have teams that have automatic bids. Some teams may not get them if they don't win their conference, because yes, the SEC tournament doesn't matter for anybody in the SEC because basically all but one team that was in the SEC tournament is making it to the regionals anyway. but you still have one bid leagues, and so everything is just like the NCAA basketball tournament. You have your 32 divisions and all of those teams that are going to get your automatic qualifiers based on the fact that they win the tournament, and we're going to figure those out here in the next couple of days. So a lot of this can potentially change. All right, now I said that right now on 104.5 The Zone, you can go to the F&M Bank chat. We can go back to that, look at some things that are being said right now. You had Twiggy that said, thank goodness the Braves avoided the sweep. They did, and they also avoided a major opportunity. And I didn't mean avoid it. I mean they totally missed a huge opportunity because the Dodgers had two guys earlier this week that were getting starters pitching for the very first time in the major leagues. They were making their major league debut, and they did it against the Braves, and the Braves couldn't get wins, one of which is while Spencer Strider was on the mound. Yes, Spencer Strider's going to get you 11-plus strikeouts. By the way, if you took that 10-plus strikeout bet that I told you about last week, you nailed that. But you missed a major opportunity. You missed a major opportunity to get 3 wins against a team that you potentially could be seeing in October. And somehow it was Bryce Elder, again, that had the best outing of any Braves pitcher. Bryce Elder pitched amazing in that 3-game series against the Dodgers, and he's the reason why the Braves did avoid the sweep, even though it also came down to Ozzie Albies getting the base hit that won the Braves the game. Hi. How are you? Now, at the end of the show, I'm going to tell you about the first pitch. We talked a little bit about it on 3HL today, but yes, the first pitch was interesting. My little man was out there. My brand new newborn was here. There was a lot going on. I'll explain it towards the very end of the show. Now, what you're going to be seeing here in just a little bit, because as we're doing this right now, it is 7:41. You've got Vanderbilt and Florida coming up here in just a little bit. The winner of that gets Friday off. They are going to be going on, and they're going to be going into the single elimination round of the SEC tournament. The team that loses that, they're going to be back tomorrow afternoon. Now, luckily, there are no early games or late games. The first game that's going to be happening tomorrow is going to be at 3 o'clock. It's going to be LSU and Texas A&M in the elimination game. And then 30 minutes after that, 45 minutes after that, you're going to have Alabama taking on the loser of Vanderbilt and Florida. Not being a hater, I want to see the pitching matchup because I haven't exactly seen it announced just yet. I'm not automatically going to say that Vanderbilt's going to lose because they got swept. I just want to see who Florida's going to be throwing out. Now, the other thing that's going to get talked about this week, because we can never go a week without talking about this, because every single season, this seems to happen. As I'm tweeting out right now the question that we were just discussing. And you can follow us on Twitter at 1045 The Zone, at Joe Hunk. And you can get those questions in as we continue on this Thursday night. But there is never a week that goes by, and never a month, a year, nothing that goes by without us being able to somehow get brought into every single Major League Baseball discussion when it comes to expansion or a team moving. There's certain topics that you always want to talk about where it's like, hey, this is always going to be an evergreen topic. If you want to get people to talk about things, automatically get them to talk about Major League Baseball coming to Nashville. But over the course of the last 2 weeks, once again, stuff has happened where, yes, Major League Baseball and Nashville have been combined into a conversation. Now, this time it's a little bit different because of now you're talking about the Las Vegas deal. Now, last week when the Las Vegas deal was getting made, there was kind of this question of, okay, well, what all has to happen? And the whole conversation comes down to the fact that if Oakland moves to Las Vegas, there were 4 different cities that were being discussed as possible expansion cities or the next city to house a Major League Baseball team. Las Vegas was one, Portland was one, Montreal, and Nashville. Those are the 4 that are getting discussed the most. If the Las Vegas deal becomes official, as in Major League Baseball is tweeting it out and you're seeing it talked about and discussed on all the different television networks because it is now official, the Oakland A's are moving to Las Vegas. If that were to take place, what does that mean for the city of Nashville? What does that mean for the team that is directly behind me right now that is so amazing to invite me out every single Thursday to do the Strike Zone, whereas it seems to be every single week we continue to talk about Major League Baseball coming to Nashville? Part of it is because of what is happening in this city with this baseball team. And so now the question rises, what do you need to pay attention to? What is it about the Oakland A's gig that Nashville fans need to be paying attention to, and the ideas in which it could correlate and connect them to Major League Baseball coming to the city? Now, we're asking this question on Twitter as well, and the way that we're phrasing this is, if you are a baseball fan in Nashville, why do you need to be paying attention to Oakland and Las Vegas? The main reasons that this is being connected is because Las Vegas has a few things that Nashville has, and that's the reason why this is being connected. The major thing in this is minor league baseball. What does this mean for the Las Vegas Aviators? What happens if the Las Vegas Aviators, do they go away? Are they no longer a baseball team? Do they have to move? Because these are questions that are getting talked about with the Sounds. If Major League Baseball comes into play, where does the Las Vegas and if Major League Baseball comes into play, where does the Nashville Sounds play into this? Now, there's 2 different or multiple different ideas in this, and nobody is wrong in this. But something like what's going on in Las Vegas is something that you definitely need to pay attention to, because this could potentially give you some answers. Because the biggest question mark that comes into this every single year has to do more about one cost. Now, we don't know the exact cost of how much it's going to cost for the Oakland A's to move to Las Vegas, but the number, $3 to $4 billion. I say between those 2 numbers because that's what's also the going rate for an expansion team. How much is it going to cost for the city of Nashville and the state of Tennessee to bring in a Major League Baseball team? It's going to cost about as much as it is going to cost to build the brand new football stadium for the Tennessee Titans. It's the truth. When you put it down like that, you kind of go, all right, well, which one's more important to the state of Tennessee and Tennessee fans? Yes, Nashville is going to be something where you're going to have your baseball fans, and baseball can thrive in this state mainly because of how good baseball is. Tennessee is unique, has amazing football, college, high school. We all know how great the basketball is here, between everything happening at Tennessee, between the Lady Vols and the Vols, between what's been happening at Vanderbilt historically, even this basketball season with Vanderbilt, and the history that Memphis has. So the state of Tennessee is amazing with basketball. Baseball is the exact same way. Do you really think that it is crazy that this stadium, the one that I am sitting in right now, that is behind me, has led Major League Baseball in attendance year after year? It's not because that they're the biggest city in AAA. No, look at all the other cities that are in AAA. Now you have Jacksonville, who just got promoted from AA. You have Jacksonville. You have Charlotte. You can look around all the different AAA cities, and they're just as big as Nashville. It has nothing to do with the size of the city. Yes, there are your Norfolks, but you have Columbus as well. Obviously, Las Vegas, we just mentioned a few seconds ago. You have Omaha. You have Buffalo. You have St. Paul, which St. Paul is Minneapolis. Like, they're the exact same. Like, all of these cities are big enough that those cities could be hosting and having the number one attendance in minor league baseball, but they don't. Gwinnett's just outside of Atlanta. You have Louisville, Syracuse. These are all city. Oklahoma City. Every one of these cities that I mentioned, Indianapolis, they have professional sports teams. They have like major league or NBA teams. They have NFL teams. But Sacramento, like those are the types of cities that we're talking about. So all of these cities that are getting discussed in this, Nashville makes the most sense, not just because it's Nashville and it's a city that's growing and we're about to begin a brand new football stadium that's going to bring even more events to the city, which means more hotels and more traffic and more people moving in. I mean, depending on what side you look at that, it's good and bad. But they also have the number one attendance in minor league baseball. You want to look at the team that has the number one attendance in minor league baseball as a potential host city. So $3 to $4 million is what it's going to cost Nashville and the state of Tennessee to bring a Major League Baseball team in. That may not actually go into the part of cost for the team itself or for the stadium itself. You have discussions of where a stadium should go. Oh, it should go near Tennessee State. Oh, what about beside the brand new football stadium that's getting built? What if you were to build it right where the old Nissan Stadium is going to be? Like, there's all these discussions about where they could potentially be. Could it go to Franklin? Could it be right here on top of this? You see that building behind me? It's not going to be here, okay? Major League Baseball Stadium is not going to fit right here where First Horizon Park is. It would be great if it could, between the connections of First Horizon Park, the Nashville Sounds, as well as Sulphur. Like, there's a ton of history here. Major League Stadium's not going to fit here. So you can't put it right here. So all that's being talked about. That's the first thing you need to pay attention to. How much is it going to cost Oakland to move from Oakland to Las Vegas? The reason it's getting brought up again is because the deal became not done, but it took its next steps. If you're a Titans fan, you know how many times we discussed and how many times it was mentioned the Tennessee Titans are one step closer to getting their brand new football stadium right beside Nissan Stadium in the parking lot in between Nissan Stadium and I-65 or whatever, or, I-24, whatever. You know how many times we said that? Because you had to hit another obstacle, and you had to hit another hurdle, and you had to get approved by another group, and you had to get approved by another group. The latest group to approve this in Las Vegas has been the actual, state officials. The state officials have gotten together, and they now have a tentative agreement with the Oakland A's for a brand new baseball stadium. That baseball stadium is going to be built. If this all goes through, it is going to be built directly across from the MGM Grand, where the Tropicana Las Vegas hotel / casino is. That area, that's exactly where it's going to be. If you've ever been to, not the old strip, not the one that's covered in the lights and all of that, but the new strip where you have the MGM Grand and you have Planet Hollywood and you have Treasure Island and you have all of those hotels in casinos, that area, there's an intersection right there where the MGM Grand is across from New York. The other side of it is the most god-awful, old-looking casino ever known to man. It looks like the casino that Clark Griswold would go into towards the end of Vegas Vacation, where he was trying to play, what number am I thinking? Like those horrible games that he was playing. But that's going to be torn down. That's where the brand new stadium is going to be built. The Oakland A's have already got an agreement for the purchase of the land. Now they're getting into the part where the Tennessee Titans were into. How much money does the city of Las Vegas and the state of Nevada pay? How much money does the Oakland A's have to put together? Now we got to negotiate about this. We got to figure out how this deal is going to be done where this could potentially happen. That's where they're at. Now that the deal is in place, the state officials have approved it, and they've approved the public financing. The next step is that this now has to go to state legislature. The state legislature is the next one that they have to get approval from. If the state legislature approves this, then it goes to Major League Baseball. And if Major League Baseball approves it, the Oakland A's are moving to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is taken off of the list of expansion cities, and the Oakland A's are now the Las Vegas A's. Now, Las Vegas and Oakland, you're keeping the name because the A's have too much of a history, not just in Oakland, but also in Philadelphia. It is an extremely old franchise. It has been around since World War I and World War II. You're not going to change the Oakland A's name. It's not offensive to anybody unless you are offensive, unless the first letter of the alphabet is offensive to you. I don't know. But there's no reason for them to change their name. The two parts to this now, you talked about the financing. The other part that you're going to have to pay attention to if you're a Nashville person that is wanting to see about what Nashville would have to do is the Las Vegas Aviators. They have a brand new ballpark. It's called the Las Vegas Ballpark. If you pay attention to the Sounds, Nashville Sounds went there to take on Durham last year in the International League Championship game when they were trying to win the AAA championship. It was the very first year of it. It happened in Las Vegas. And that ballpark is now just 16 miles away from where the new Oakland A / Las Vegas A stadium is supposed to be built. That's where the question comes up about what would happen with the Nashville Sounds. So, that's the question I ask is, what do you think would happen to the Nashville Sounds? I have my theory, or at least an idea of what I would like to see. But it doesn't mean that that's going to happen. Sometimes the one that makes the most sense to me is not going to be the one that actually happens. Personally, if it was up to me, I would just promote the Nashville Sounds. I would have them play at this stadium here at First Horizon Park until a brand new stadium was built, and the history and the records and everything that is involving the Nashville Sounds gets promoted to Major League Baseball. That's if it was mine and it made the most sense. That's what I would do. You already have logoing. Look, the Nashville Sounds logo is beautiful, okay? With the uniforms that they're wearing tonight, the 1978 uniforms that they're rocking on the field for Throwback Thursday is amazing. There's no reason to change anything when it comes to that. That looks good. The other uniforms, whether it's the reds, their blues, or their grays or whites, all look professional already. In fact, if you go to the Nashville Sounds website, when it was asked about the redesign of the Nashville Sounds uniforms from the black and red that they had, they said they wanted a uniform that looked like it was on a Major League Baseball team. They didn't want to go with something hokey. They wanted something that looked like it could be on a Major League Baseball team, and you could see it being worn by players like Aaron Judge and any other player that could potentially happen. Luke Voigt, heck, we've seen him. He's already hit a bomb tonight. You could see it from somebody like Luke Voigt. But that's what I would do. Pay attention to the Aviators and the A's. What does Major League Baseball do? Because they do have rules about your AAA affiliate being too close to your Major League team. Gwinnett and Atlanta, they're about, I want to say, maybe 35 minutes to an hour away from each other. So it's not like they're extremely close. This is 16 miles. This is First Horizon Park to Franklin. That's how far away it is. And so that is why you see that first. So if the Nashville Sounds weren't to get promoted, would potentially Major League Baseball sign a waiver or give a waiver to a team like the Nashville Sounds if they do the exact same thing for the Las Vegas Aviators. First Horizon Park's a beautiful ballpark. The connection that it has with the city and the history of baseball in the city of Nashville, as well as the state and the Southern Negro Leagues, this is where you would love for another stadium or another team to be playing in if it wasn't the Nashville Sounds and the Nashville Sounds were to get promoted. I will continue to say the Nashville Sounds need to be promoted. There are multiple teams in Major League Baseball that this needs to happen. the Anaheim Angels, the Miami Marlins. You can look at the Milwaukee Brewers, the Baltimore Orioles. All of those teams were minor league baseball teams before they were promoted to the major league level. It can happen. It has happened in the past. It should happen in this instance. But those are some things, if you're a Nashville baseball fan and this Las Vegas deal gets done, now you go in. We're not talking today about, well, should it be a team that moves? Should it be an expansion team, or should it be a team that moves from another city? It's for a totally different discussion on a totally different day. But the whole thing about today is, now that Las Vegas is happening, Nashville is next. Nashville's the number one city. There's no other reason that another city should get it outside of Nashville. They're number one on this list. Yorkie asked the question, how could one from the area acquire a Sounds hat if they are, I should say, how could one not from the area potentially acquire a Sounds hat? Well, that is very easy. You could potentially know someone that could purchase a hat for you and give it to you the next time that they see you. Now, but not everybody doesn't have that instance. So if there's another option, you can actually go to the Nashville Sounds website and you can shop on their store website right there and get it shipped to wherever you are worldwide. That would be my advice. You can pick whichever one that you would like. But as we wrap up tonight on the Strike Zone, let's talk about the first pitch from last night, because we talked about it a little bit on 3HL. But just like everything else, there are many, many layers to this first pitch. Because first you had Don, and you have Brent, and you have Slay, and you have everybody on 104.5 The Zone. Don't one-hop it. Don't pull Slay. Don't screw it up. You had everybody like that. So that pressure was already on. Then after that, you then also have the X factors. Do I bring my little girl onto the field? I wanted to. I really did want to bring her onto the field. The only problem with it was she can't really hold her head up by her on her own just yet. She's getting better. We're doing tummy tuck time and all that stuff at the house where she can like lift her head up a little bit, but she's not 100% there yet where she can kind of just hold her head up on her own by herself. So I'd have to like cradle her like a football, like, 5 points of contact. Like that's kind of what I would need to do. It just wasn't going to work out. So I wanted to take little man onto the field. So then we got into this other scenario. Last time I threw out the first pitch, I took my son out with me. Well, I was going to do that again this time, especially with him here. He loves it. He loves baseball, so let's take him out. Last year he was 3. This year he was 4. So I said, okay, well, if he did good last year, he's going to do good this year. The only thing that I need to prepare for in my head is I got to do one thing differently than what I did last year. Last year I left him on the mound. I can't do that this time. Last year, I threw out the first pitch. I started walking off of the mound. I got about halfway back to the dugout, and I looked back, and my son was still standing on the mound just waving at everybody like, hey, Daddy left me here. I'm just going to stand here. First off, good job by him. Like, he didn't run the outfield. He didn't run to the visitor's dugout. He just stayed there, stayed put. So I appreciated that. So I had to make sure I didn't do that. But then my son threw me a curveball. So we go on the field. We're waiting. And I still didn't have my baseball yet. See, a lot of times whenever you throw out a first pitch, they're going to give you the baseball ahead of time so that you toss it around, if you got your glove, or if you want to, just scuff it up just a little bit. You want to get some dirt on it so that you have a little bit of a grip so that it doesn't slip out of your hands. You kind of get the ball early. Well, I kept looking at the girl that was with us, and I kept saying, hey, where's the baseball? She says, oh, you'll get a baseball. Hey, where's the baseball? Oh, you're going to get one. You're going to get one. Hey, where's the baseball? She goes, hey, here's the baseball. Head out to the mound. You're about to go. And I went, okay. So I hand it to my son because he was like, Daddy, I want to see it. So I hand the baseball to him. And in handing it to him, he was just like, oh, this is amazing. So we start to walk across the field, and we get past the third baseline, and we get put up on the gigantic guitar right there directly behind me. And so we get put up on the guitar. And I keep pointing at it. I was like, hey, buddy, look at that, man. Your you're on the guitar. Like, do you see yourself? He said, yeah, Daddy, I see myself. Like, that's so awesome. I said, isn't it? I said, cool. I said, can I have the baseball? He goes, no. All right, let me see the baseball. No. Okay. All right, we're 30 feet away from the mound right now. I can see the mound getting closer, and my son's the one wanting to hold the baseball. Like, what the crap do I do? Hey, man, can I see the baseball? Well, buddy, I need the baseball to throw out the first pitch. We can throw it out together. All right, we're 10 feet away from the mound. I can see, like, I'm 2 steps away. I'm going, what do I do? What do I do? I turn around. I look at Booster the rooster. He's pounding his glove. He's ready for me to throw the first pitch. My son's got one hand. He's got the baseball in the other hand. He's not giving the baseball up at all. So what do? I go, son, do you want to throw out the first pitch? He goes, yeah. I said, all right, get up on the mound. He got up on the mound. I hopped like 5 feet away from the mound. He threw the baseball to me, and I caught it, and I went, yes, I got the ball. All right, cool. Now let me get on the hill real fast. Let me go. Let me look around. Boom, let me throw it. My son helped me because I didn't have to think about, oh, crap, am I going to throw this too low? Am I going to throw it too high? Does the ball have enough grip on it? I was paranoid about my son actually giving me the baseball because he was not giving the baseball up. That I was so worried about that I totally forgot about all the people that were here and that, last time I threw it way too high or that Slay one-hopped it and I couldn't do that. There were so many things going through my head. So eventually when my son threw me the baseball, I was able to just turn around and just throw it myself. So I appreciate my son for that. Like, that really helped me. Because I was sitting there the whole time as we were doing the show, and Dawn and Slay kept going, so you nervous? You nervous? And then Adam English came over, and Colin, their PR person that does an amazing job. He was like, so you nervous? You ready? You ready to throw out the first pitch? Abby, who was the girl that eventually walked us down to the field, she goes, so are you nervous? Stop asking me if I'm nervous, people. Like, of course I'm nervous. I'm very nervous, okay? Because no matter what happens, unless I throw a good pitch, I'm going to get my balls busted for the next year or until the next time I have the ability to throw out the first pitch. Yeah, I was nervous. And then my son won't give me the baseball. And as a parent, okay, every single parent that's watching, you know what you feel like as a parent when you're in that situation because you instantly want to go, give me the baseball right now. Can't do that. I was up on the guitar, man. I was up on the guitar. I couldn't say, give me the baseball right now. Because if he starts crying and he falls to his feet, we've got a whole new situation that we're having to deal with as a parent that's on the baseball field directly in front of everybody. The Cubs will be looking at me. The Sounds will be looking at me. I didn't know what to do. So I had to come up with something. Somehow the first pitch idea for him worked. So he threw me the baseball, and that was the only way I could get the baseball. You want to talk about a crisis averted? I was paranoid, and I was terrified. I was about to let him throw the first pitch. I turned around when he kept saying no to me, and I kept going, okay, well, how far do I need to get away from the mound and close to Booster so that Booster can be the one that catches this ball and my son just throws out the first pitch? Like, that would be a total curveball. That would be an awesome thing. Like, let's go with that. So if I would have said, hey, do you want to throw out the first pitch to me? And he would have said no, I would have totally called an audible. And I would have said, hey, Ollie's throwing out the first pitch tonight. Let's move him up to in between the pitcher's mound and home plate. Ollie's throwing out the first pitch. I walked back off the field, and my wife went, hey, that was really cool. I didn't know you and Ollie were going to do that. Neither did I until I was about 2 feet away from the mound, and I had no other way to get the baseball from him because he wasn't going to give me the ball. That wasn't planned. That wasn't scheduled. That wasn't something that him and I sat over here beside the 3HL table as we were broadcasting. I said, all right, buddy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to throw to me, and then I'm going to throw it. So it's going to be almost like we're both throwing out a first pitch. No. The kid wouldn't give me the ball. Thank God he loves throwing a baseball, so I was able to use that, and that's the only way that I was able to actually get the ball from him. Yeah, that's the rundown of how everything took place last night for the first pitch. If you're friends with me on Facebook, which I know that I have added a lot of 104.5 The Zone listeners, go find the pictures that my wife posted of our daughter and everything. In there is a video of my son and I throwing the first pitch. When you open the video up, you will see him throwing to me. It's because it was the only option. There was no other option. I wasn't going to be able to get him to throw, to give me the baseball unless he was the one that threw it. Because he was like, Daddy, we're going to do this together. And that is the story of this year's first pitch. I appreciate everybody hopping in. I appreciate all the people that have been on the chat. I appreciate everybody that has been in on social media. I know that we've had some people that have been telling me that, trying to give me some advice for my coughs earlier because, man, those coughs were bad. I did not know if I was going to be able to get through the strike zone tonight. I kept having to mute the mic because I couldn't stop coughing, and I kept thinking, guys, we are 10 seconds into this sucker. We are 10 seconds into this show. We're 20 seconds into this show. We are a minute into this show, and I cannot stop coughing. Make sure that you join us next Thursday. The regionals will be set. We'll preview those regionals. We'll talk more about the Atlanta Braves. We'll get you a little bit more about the Sounds. If you have not been out to First Horizon Park this season, do so, because I have 2 words for you. Okay, I really kind of set that up to be something really kind of funny, and if you have the mind that I have or you're born in the 90s, you know exactly what comes after that. But those weren't the 2 words. The 2 words were John Singleton. The man is mashing. Either he's going to be in the majors for the Brewers in the next couple of months, or he's getting traded to a team that can bring him up to the major leagues, and they're going to add him as a DH. The guy's hitting too good, too well. The guy's hitting amazing. That doesn't even sound right. Doesn't matter. Get out to First Horizon Park. Watch the Sounds play. Thursday nights are Throwback Thursdays. Look, $4, $2 drinks right now happening over in the bandbox. You cannot see that on the camera, mainly because I cannot show too much of the field. Minor League Baseball would get on to me. But the bandbox is packed, and that's because of the drink specials that are going on right now at the bandbox. You can enjoy that. You can play some cornhole. They got basketball. They have putt-putt. You have all this stuff that you can do here at First Horizon Park. And, of course, like I was saying just a few moments ago, don't forget to go by the Pro Shop. Baseball jerseys, tons of Sounds gear. You have every bit of that. Saturday night, they're going to be giving scarves to the first 1,000 or so fans that are going to be coming through the gate. It's going to be awesome. It's part of their Spanish heritage scarves that they're going to be giving away. And Sunday, look, let me tell you about Sunday before we wrap up, okay? Because I was talking to the Sounds last night. They're having a Pirates and Princess Day Sunday afternoon. If you are a parent, this is an amazing opportunity to take your kids out to the field, let them run around, let them get tired, and then let them go to bed early so that you can actually have some time to relax and potentially watch a show like Love and Death. By the way, haven't seen the latest episode, so do not ruin that for me on social media, okay? I just wrapped up the Titans. Love and Death is what I'm on right now. Elizabeth Olsen in Love and Death is amazing, and if she does not win an award for Love and Death in the next year, somebody is doing something wrong because she has been absolutely tremendous in that series. And yes, I can talk about it. Over here on this side, which is where the home run pavilion is, which is down the left field line, they're going to have a section set up for the boys where they can have Pirates and all that. I say boys for whoever wants to, for the Pirates. And then closer to the bandbox, they're going to have a setup that's going to be for princesses and all this other stuff. So it's going to be really fun, okay? Yorkie says he feels attacked by that comment. I'm not really sure. Oh, yeah, never mind, Yorkie. I remember now. Yeah. Yorkie was the one that ruined Stranger Things Season 4 for me, okay? That's why I'm appreciative of HBO Max, or now Max. It's not HBO Max. That's why I'm appreciative of them releasing these shows 1 week at a time so that somebody like Yorkie can't binge watch everything and then throw up a meme on social media 2 days later after the show just came out with one of the biggest climax and the biggest hooks and the biggest parts of the entire season just right there for you to see. Thank you. Anyways, follow me on social media at Joe Hunk. Make sure that you join 3HL tomorrow starting at 3 o'clock and get out to First Horizon Park. They're here all weekend, all the way up until Sunday. Monday's going to be a travel day before they're back on the road again, and it's going to be a whole nother week before they're even back in town. Bring your kids out to the ballpark. As you can see, and you may not even be able to see, the lawn behind me, packed. The bandbox, packed. Every single seat over here to my left behind first and third base has hundreds, this sounds bad, thousands and thousands of people, okay? Tons of people are here tonight. The Brower Lounge is packed. This place is so much fun. If you've not been down to First Horizon, come and do so. It's not the number one baseball park in minor league baseball for any other reason other than what you can do here, okay? I'm telling you, more fans came to Nashville Sounds games in 2022, 2021 than anybody else in minor league baseball. And yes, they have more fans coming to their games than the Oakland A's and the Miami Marlins. Just letting you know. All right? Next Thursday, 7 o'clock, be here. We will talk some more. I appreciate everything and everybody hopping in and joining us right here on the Strike Zone.